Good evening, everybody. I welcome everybody to our annual celebration of the Twin Towers Memorial. It's easy for me to say. I'm happy to see everybody here. I didn't even anticipate this big a crowd. Last year we had our dedication of the property, which was a very nice ceremony. We had the Patriot Guard involved and a lot of the state police, the sheriff, EMS, fire, and a very nice ceremony. We do have some EMS personnel here, I'm happy to see. We do have Pat Danny, fire chief. Do have some township personnel here, very nice to see. This is, of course, on township property, and the township graciously donated this property to us, which is very nice of them. This project started in 2007, just because I seen an article in a newspaper or a magazine, and it has progressed so far to what you see. These two pieces of steel came from the World Trade Center in New York. If these two pieces of steel could talk, imagine the story they could say.
When Bud asked me to come up and speak this evening, I realized that while I can tell you everything that happened, who I was with, where I heard the September 11th events had happened, I never really sat and reflected on how it affected me or those around me much. So when I was trying to figure out exactly what to say to you all, it occurred to me that there were two things that struck me most in connection with September 11th, and both are mentioned in this quote from Senator John Kerry, who said, "Remember the hours after September 11th when we came together as one to answer the attack against our homeland. We drew strength when our firefighters ran upstairs and risked their lives so that others might live. When rescuers rushed into smoke and fire at the Pentagon. When the men and women of Flight 93 sacrificed themselves to save our nation's capital. When flags were hanging from porches all across America and strangers became friends. It was the worst day we have ever seen, but it brought out the best in all of us." The first trend I noticed as I sifted through my memories of the day was the sense of community, both locally and nationally, that seemed to arise almost immediately in response to the events of September 11th. As a community, we dealt with our grief over the nearly 3,000 lives lost at the World Trade Center in New York City, at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and on Flight 93 as it crashed near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. As a community, we expressed our outrage toward the people who could knowingly and willingly destroy so many innocent lives, not just of those we lost, but of those who survived to mourn them and those who sustained life-altering injuries in the attacks. And as a community, we showed our pride for the heroes who emerged that day to assist in whatever way they could, for some resulting in the ultimate sacrifice. Which leads me to the second trend. It seemed to me that the events surrounding September 11th caused, for many of us, a reevaluation of the word hero, and a deeper appreciation of the heroes that we encounter every day. For many of us, the word hero might bring to mind famous athletes or entertainers, or mythical beings with capes and superpowers. Our minds don't always instantly jump to the everyday heroes. Our policemen, our firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, soldiers, and countless others who put themselves at risk on a regular basis. And yet, in the midst of the chaos that befell our nation as the events of September 11th unfolded, and as the aftermath was dealt with, these were the people we turned to for help, and who readily answered that call. Not for glory or for recognition, but because it was what was right and what they were driven to do. And it was this group who led so many others to reach out and lend a hand wherever possible. Throughout the nation, people donated funds, supplies, and even their own blood to help those affected by the attacks, doing whatever they could to contribute with their own small acts of heroism. And while things have settled in the 12 years since that tragic day, taking some of the edge off of our grief, cooling the fire of our outrage in small degrees, and allowing our bond as a national community to loosen a bit, I believe that our respect for our national heroes, those we lost on September 11th, those we have lost in the line of duty or at war, our veterans, and those who continue to serve today still holds strong. And it is in this spirit that I would like to share a short prayer with you today, a prayer for our heroes. Dear Lord, throughout the ages and even today, you have raised up for us heroes as examples of what is best in our humanity. Bless all those whose sacrifice, love, and courage have given so much to this world. Protect those heroes in harm's way. Strengthen those whose heroic contribution perseveres day in and day out. Heal those whose heroism has cost them in mind and in body. Give your eternal peace to those who have gone from this life. Grant by your grace that we may each find ever deeper heroic virtues in ourselves, so that we may serve others every day in every way we are able. Amen.
2001, 4 passenger planes were hijacked by 19 Al-Qaeda terrorists to be flown into several buildings in suicide attacks. 2 of those planes, American Airlines Flight 11 and United Airlines Flight 175, were crashed into the north and south towers of the World Trade Center complex in New York City, and within 2 hours both buildings were on the ground. The resulting fires caused partial or complete collapse of all other buildings in the World Trade Center complex, as well as major damage to 10 other large surrounding structures. A third plane, American Airlines Flight 77, crashed into the Pentagon, leading to partial collapse on the west side. A fourth plane, United Airlines Flight 93, was targeted for Washington, D.C., but crashed into an airfield near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, after its passengers tried to overcome the hijackers. In total, almost 3,000 people died in the attacks, including 227 civilians and the 19 hijackers. It was the deadliest incident for firefighters in the history of the United States. Excuse me. As a result of the attacks, the U.S. and its allies became involved in 2 separate wars where 6,472 soldiers lost their lives and are still being lost today. These firefighters and these soldiers belong together. They are heroes. Those firefighters and EMS personnel ran into those buildings while everyone else was running out. How many people did they save? Only the man up above knows. Can you imagine being in the second tower when the first tower went down? You would be able to feel the rumble start at the top and not know if it is the building you're in or not. But you just freeze and wait, and the rumble comes down to over your head. You hold your breath, and the rumble goes past you. Then silence. Then you know, this time you made it. But no, now, how much time you have to get out? How many can you rescue? Do you keep going? These heroes kept going, doing whatever they could, telling every last person how to get out. The next time they heard that rumble, they knew their time was up. This memorial is for all of them. Those who gave helping others even though they didn't know their names. Even though they had nothing to do with either side of the conflict. The warriors that gave because someone in a big, beautiful office said they had to. Some did believe in the fight, some wondered. But as the saying goes, all gave some gave all. As we go about our day, these conflicts on the other side of the world, a lot of times it is out of sight, out of mind. I don't want this to be forgotten. We are working to bring this to the front of everybody's mind, especially to educate the children today who have no idea what 9/11 was. As Governor Snyder said, it is a spirit of heroism and bravery, sacrifice and generosity, compassion and kindness that we saw in the firefighters, rescue workers, and armed forces who defend our freedoms around the world and here at home, who put their lives on the line on behalf of their neighbors. Let's hold our heads high, remembering those we have lost and resolving to live their spirit in all we do. Normally the flag would be raised due to the death of Paul Butterfield, state trooper that was killed downstate by command of the governor. The flag will remain at half-staff until this funeral. Thank you all for coming.